20,000 years ago, you are sitting by a fire. Somewhere past the tree line, two eyes are watching you. They belong to a wolf, an animal built, quite literally, to kill something exactly your size. And instead of attacking, it just waits. You would expect it to be hunting you. It is not. It is hoping you leave something behind. A bone, a scrap of meat nobody wanted. Garbage, basically. And that one, unremarkable decision, a wolf choosing trash over teeth, is the actual origin story of the animal sleeping in your house tonight. Most people assume humans tamed wolves on purpose, found a wild pup, raised it by hand, forced it into obedience through sheer human willpower and patience. That is almost certainly not what happened. The real story is stranger, slower, and honestly far less flattering to us. It does not begin with a human decision at all. It begins with garbage. Every hunter-gatherer camp on Earth produced waste. Bones stripped clean of meat, organs nobody wanted, carcasses too small to bother butchering properly. To a wolf, a pile like that is a free meal, with none of the danger and none of the injury risk that comes with taking down an elk or a bison. But getting close enough to a human camp to eat it came with its own risk entirely. Humans threw spears. Humans killed things that got too close, too fast, too aggressively. Most wolves' instincts said stay far away or attack if cornered. Only a small number of wolves in any given population were calm enough and bold enough to sit at a distance and scavenge without ever triggering a fight. Here is the part that actually matters, the part that explains everything that came after. Those slightly calmer wolves ate better, more reliably, with less injury than their more aggressive, more nervous relatives out in the forest. And animals that eat better and get hurt less tend to live longer. They have more pups. Those pups inherit that same lower threshold for panic. Over hundreds, then thousands of years, camp life quietly filtered for exactly one trait above everything else. Not intelligence, not size, not hunting skill, just tameness. The raw, physiological ability to sit near a human without your nervous system screaming at you to flee or fight. Scientists call this self-domestication, and the label matters because nobody was breeding these animals on purpose. Nobody selected a mate for a wolf. Nobody culled the aggressive ones by hand. The wolves were domesticating themselves, one scavenged bone at a time, without either species understanding what was actually happening between them. And selecting for tameness apparently drags along a whole package of other traits, completely for free. Researchers call this domestication syndrome, and it is not unique to wolves. It shows up, almost identically, across completely unrelated domesticated species, from pigs to cattle to mink, floppy ears, curled tails, patchy, piebald coats, smaller teeth, rounder, more juvenile faces that persist well into adulthood instead of sharpening into something wolf-like. Nobody selected for any of that directly. It came bundled with calmness as a strange biological side effect nobody ordered and nobody expected. One leading theory for why this happens involves something called neural crest cells, a group of embryonic cells that influence both the adrenal glands, which control fear and stress responses, and the physical structures that become ears, tails, and pigmentation. Select for animals with calmer adrenal glands, and you may accidentally be selecting for floppier ears and curlier tails at the exact same time because the same underlying cells are quietly shaping both. Nature apparently bundles fearlessness and floppy ears in the same biological package, and nobody asked for that arrangement either. A famous Soviet-era experiment on silver foxes proved just how fast this could happen in real time. Researchers bred foxes for a single trait only, tameness toward humans. Nothing else. No interest in appearance whatsoever. Within a handful of generations, floppy ears and curling tails started appearing on their own. Coat patterns changed, faces softened. Some foxes even started wagging their tails at researchers. Nobody asked for any of it. It simply arrived, attached to the calmness, exactly the way it apparently did with wolves. Thousands of years earlier, around campfires nobody remembers the location of. So somewhere between 40,000 and 15,000 years ago, a population of wolves loitering around human camps slowly, accidentally, became something else, not fully wolf anymore, Not yet what we would recognize as a dog either, something in between, caught mid-transformation. Genetic studies back this up directly. A 2015 analysis of ancient wolf DNA from a 35,000-year-old specimen found on the Taymyr Peninsula in Siberia helped researchers calculate that dogs split off from a now-extinct population of wolves somewhere in that window, long before farming existed, long before permanent villages, back when every single human being on the planet was still a hunter-gatherer following seasonal food. And once that split happened, the relationship stopped being one-sided. These camp-adapted wolves were not just quietly eating garbage anymore. They were noticing things. A predator moving through the tree line at night, a stranger approaching camp, and they started reacting to it, loudly, with barking and growling aimed outward, away from the humans they lived near, rather than at the humans themselves. A wolf descendant that barks at approaching danger is worth infinitely more to a human group than one that stays completely silent. So now humans had an actual reason to tolerate these animals in return, not train them, not in any formal sense yet. Just stop chasing them off. Maybe toss them the good scraps instead of the bad ones. That is the real deal that got struck between our two species. Not a handshake, not domestication by clever design, just two separate animals, slowly discovering it was more useful to tolerate each other than to avoid each other. And we actually have physical proof of exactly how deep this bond became, remarkably early in the story. At a site called Bonn-Oberkassel in modern Germany, archaeologists uncovered a grave roughly 14,200 years old. Inside it, two adult humans, and buried directly alongside them, treated with the same ritual care as the people themselves, a dog, not left outside the grave, not discarded somewhere nearby, buried as part of the family unit, deliberately, intentionally. Analysis of that dog's teeth revealed something quietly devastating. As a puppy, it had suffered a severe illness, almost certainly canine distemper, the kind that should have killed it within days. Instead, it survived for weeks afterward, which means someone kept it warm, someone fed it by hand, probably pre-chewed food, the same way ancient humans fed their own sick infants. Someone cared, consistently, for an animal that could give absolutely nothing useful back during that entire time. 14,000 years ago, someone looked at a sick, temporarily useless puppy and decided it was still worth the effort of saving. That is not utility. That is not a working relationship between species. That is something much closer to love, and it is sitting quietly in the archaeological record for anyone willing to look. Bonn-Oberkassel is not even the only site like this. At Predmosti in the modern Czech Republic, archaeologists found the remains of a large canid buried with a bone placed deliberately in its mouth, a ritual gesture dated to roughly 27,000 years ago, right at the edge of when dogs may have first begun splitting from wolves. At Ain Mallaha in modern Israel, archaeologists found a human skeleton, roughly 12,000 years old, with one hand resting gently on the body of a puppy buried beside them. Across an enormous span of geography and time, the same pattern keeps repeating. Wherever ancient humans went, dogs went with them. And when dogs died, humans mourned them the way they mourned each other. Some researchers have gone even further. Anthropologist Pat Shipman has proposed that the partnership between humans and early dogs may have given Homo sapiens a decisive advantage over Neanderthals, who show no comparable evidence of working with tamed wolves. A hunting party with a dog that can track scent, chase prey toward waiting spears, and guard a kill site from scavengers is simply more efficient than a hunting party without one. It is a controversial idea and not universally accepted, but the timing lines up in an unsettling way. Dogs appear in the archaeological record right around the same window that Neanderthals disappear from it entirely. Here is the twist modern science keeps confirming, over and over, in lab after lab, generation after generation. Dogs read human faces and human emotional expressions with an accuracy that no other animal on Earth comes anywhere close to matching. Not chimpanzees, not any other primate, despite sharing far more DNA with us than dogs ever will. Dogs, specifically, somehow crack the code of the human face better than our own closest living relatives do. Researchers led by Takefumi Kikusui in Japan found that when a dog and its owner make direct, sustained eye contact, both of them experience a measurable spike in oxytocin, the exact same bonding hormone that fires between a parent and a newborn infant. Wolves raised by humans from birth, under identical conditions, do not show this effect. They avoid prolonged eye contact almost entirely, treating it as a threat rather than a bond. Researchers led by Takumi Kikusui in Japan found that when a dog and its owner make direct, sustained eye contact, both of them experience a measurable spike in oxytocin, the exact same bonding hormone that fires between a parent and a newborn infant. Wolves raised by humans from birth, under identical conditions, do not show this effect. They avoid prolonged eye contact almost entirely, treating it as a threat rather than a bond. Something changed, deep in the biology of dogs specifically, somewhere across those thousands of years by the fire. That particular feedback loop essentially does not exist between humans and any other species on the planet, wild or domesticated. It is unique to us and to them, which means the animal sleeping at the foot of your bed tonight is carrying, somewhere deep in its biology, the memory of a decision made by a wolf near a fire, roughly 15,000 years before anyone on Earth had written a single word down. That wolf did not attack, it waited. And every dog alive today, from the smallest lapdog to the largest working breed, is the accumulated result of that one quiet choice, repeated across roughly 600 generations, until an entire predator species slowly turned into something that would rather stay near us than run from us. You did not tame the wolf, it applied for the job,